We're gonna hit live. That's going. Oh, YouTube. Okay. We're gonna hit live.
Slide there.
Okay, all right. So welcome this evening, everyone. Once again, I'm sound checking here. Councilman Lightfoot. We'll go around the room and, of course, around the room for the Zoom as well, and just have everybody introduce themselves real quickly. But we are currently, this is our June Rock Against Gun Violence Coalition meeting. Our meetings we're gearing back up. We're back meeting monthly again. Thank God for Andre setting up our meetings. We are in a hybrid version right now. We are at the Willie W. Lightfoot Equity Center on Flint Street, and we're also live on Zoom. So some of our partners are with us on Zoom, and of course, some of our partners are here with us in person. And we found it important. We know there's another meeting tonight, another anti-violent meeting tonight with UCLM, I believe, at 6:30. So we're going to try to end in a time where, folks who may want to join that as well can be involved in that. We know we have a lot of things that are going on around violence, and we had an extremely violent weekend. We had a 16-year-old girl that was killed going to a birthday party. We had a 52-year-old man that was shot and killed. We had another young man that was beaten to death. So it was an extremely violent weekend. And so, as we always have done, we're going to pause just briefly for a moment of silence just to acknowledge those lives that were lost over the weekend, and of course, all of the victims that have been impacted by the violence in our community. So we'll stop just briefly. We'll let Dr. K get kind of situated, and we're going to stop and just have, I'm not putting you on the spot, brother, just giving you a chance to say, and just have a quick moment of silence, recognizing the lives over the weekend and those in the past and the impacts and the victims. Thank you. Once again, I'll start. I'm City Councilman Willie Lightfoot, also the founder and chairman of Rock Against Gun Violence Coalition.
Victor Saunders, Mayor's Advisor on Violence Prevention Programs.
Shawnee Williams, the social media with Rock Against Gun Violence Coalition.
Kia Nyame, affectionately called Dr. K, Coordinator, Office of Neighborhood Safety, Program Manager for the Peacemakers Fellowship.
And go ahead, Captain.
All right. Good evening, everybody, or good afternoon, I should say. Captain Mark Mura, the Rochester Police Department's Community Affairs Bureau.
Aaliyah?
Yes.
Yes.
Huh? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Oh, I'm introducing myself. Nope. I'm introducing myself. Good afternoon, everyone. I apologize. I was getting an update from the PIC team, but I'm Aaliyah Hinton-Williams, Manager of Crisis Services for the city.
Thank you. Welcome. Tony.
Hello, everyone. Tony Nelson, 585 Program Manager. 585 SNUG Program Manager.
Welcome. Ed.
Hey, I'm Ed Brown, Associate Professor, Department of Biomedical Engineering, Rochester Institute of Technology.
Welcome, Bob. I can't see that other name.
That's Andre.
Oh, hey, Andre. Go ahead, Andre. You want to introduce yourself?
Hey, everybody. How we doing? Andre Gully, Legislative Aide for Councilman Willie Lightfoot. Wonderful man to work for. Glad to see everybody.
Thank you, brother.
Who's that?
And we
Who's Willie Lightfoot?
I know, right? I heard that guy though. Just wanted to say thank you, everybody. We want you to be excited about the fact that all of our partners are working collectively and collaboratively together. I told Dr. K and Vic, I'm working with them 100%. There is no, we are all in the same fight. working on the same thing. We all want to see the same thing in our community, which is to stop this violence in our community, period. That is our objective. There are no egos. There are no, little eyes and big eyes. And we're all on the same page. The mayor is fully supportive of all the work that we're all doing. And I see Kathy Richards just stepped in, and I'm so glad to see her and around all the work. And we're looking forward to hearing some stuff from her soon. Our gun trace data report, just want to give you guys an update. That is, to me, in my opinion, the most critical work that we can partner and do as a coalition this year. We have full stop all of our other efforts, and we're fully focusing in on our gun trace data report advocacy and making sure that we produce that, okay? As a result of that, as you know, just to give you kind of, and those who may be listening, we are live on our City Council YouTube website, so the public is often open to, Shawnee will share this on our Facebook page, the link afterwards. Public will see this meeting. So everything we're saying, we're being very transparent, very open and honest, and we've been very public about our position on the gun trace data report, both the one that we want to do and we want to mimic what we see happening in Chicago. We want to mimic what we see recently happening by the Brady National in Pennsylvania. We believe that we can have a platinum standard gun trace data report here in the Rochester. We've learned from those other two states, and Brady is already signed an agreement with the city of Rochester. I've spoken with the mayor. We're working on putting a meeting together to put all the parties together and begin to move forward. Our issue is hiring a company to do the work after the report. So we don't want to just come out with a report. We want to have direct action after this report and sustainable actions after this report is done. So currently right now, we're working on a meeting to be happening hopefully very soon with Brady, the mayor, and whomever he designates. I'm sure Vic will be a part of that conversation as well, Dr. K, and whomever else the mayor designates to show us how we move forward. But I will say that this council, the mayor's office, and RPD are committed to making sure that we forge ahead with a public-facing gun trace data report. And that's very important that this information is public. And then I was also told that the FBI has data that they could release, right? That they already have. And I was kind of cautioned to not confuse the two between the gun trace data report that we're advocating for, that we do, and the FBI data that they have. And someone said, well, are you sure you want to act like you want that data to be made public too? I said, absolutely. Not only do I want to see the data that the city report does, but I think the FBI data, and I'm making this very clear and very public, that I think that the FBI data should be public as well too. And I don't back down from that. I think that all of that data should be public. And I think that that's important. I'll pause here for a minute to allow Kathy, if she has any other information she wants to share around advocacy. And then after that, we'll have our RPD update, our update from the neighborhood safety, our update from the crisis coordinator, and then any new business. Now, I want you to understand and want to be very clear about what these meetings are for. One, we have four arms. The media, Lashani is a part of it, and so is Councilman Harris. We have our eradication, our advocacy, and our education. I want us to be completely focused and laser-like focused on our advocacy, which we're doing with our gun trace data report and other advocacies that Kathy will speak on. And then I also want us to focus on our education. That's our PSAs, that's our preventive measures that we can support. And the reason we ask for updates from these other departments so that we can be on the same page with them, and we're an asset to them. So when you give your reports, we're saying, how can the coalition help? How can council help get your messages across? What needs do you have, whether it's Aaliyah as a crisis coordinator, whether it's Dr. K, whether it's Victor, because remember, I am also a council member, and the council looks to me oftentimes to bring information around this gun violence and what we're doing back to them. So if you have needs, that you need to do your jobs better and support services that we can provide from a council's perspective, and also as from the community, as us advocating as partners, we're here to assist you, RPD, the Crisis Convention, the neighborhood safety centers, the work that Vic is doing. So I want to be very clear. So when people come here and they understand, what is the coalition? Why are we constantly updating with the coalition? Because we want to know. Things are changing. They change daily, by the hour, but we meet once a month. So oftentimes there are things that may happen in between that time that we can assist and help on, and we want to be able to do that. So Kathy, do you have briefly some stuff you want to share with us?
Sure. So I'm really happy that we're going to have that. I apologize, Willie, for being late. I had a little trouble with my computer, but it sounds like we have updates on the gun trace report. And until that information is released to us, we as a community, in terms of getting ready for that report to be released, I think one of the things that might help us is to just make sure that everybody has an understanding about what a gun trace report is. This is of critical importance to Rochester because think of a gun trace report as it's the evidence. It's the evidence of what a community is bearing in terms of gun violence. It's the testimony to what is taking place, how it's taking place, and that information is of critical information to the community because we have no means of holding anybody accountable if we don't even know how guns are being trafficked or diverted or redirected into our communities where they're being accessed by people who shouldn't have them. And so the gun trace report really is the evidence. It's the evidence that law enforcement needs to inform its strategy. It's the evidence that the ATF needs in terms of targeting the removal of trafficked or diverted guns into our community. It's the most important means that the public has, that we can turn to our leaders and say, finally, once we have this information, what's being done about this? We see that these are the dealers that have been involved in supplying crime guns. What are we doing to stop them? What are we doing to hold them accountable? When were they last inspected? Were any infractions found when they were inspected? What actions were taken? So it's of such importance. I think you have it 100% right. This is a major priority for us. Secondly, there was major laws passed. One of them was the Gun Dealers Code of Conduct law. I want everybody to know that behind the scenes, Brady National hired some advocates. I believe they were attorneys. They may have been attorneys. I'm not sure exactly what their background was, but I know that they hired advocates specifically after the advocacy coming from Rochester on how Rochester is suffering terribly, as is Buffalo, from gun violence. And so these advocates work specifically to get that Gun Dealers Code of Conduct law passed, as well as our Rochester Coalition worked on it. We made phone calls, we held meetings with legislators, and many other people did as well. Many other gun violence prevention groups did as well on a multiple numbers of issues. But this issue, this legislative issue on the gun trace report is one of the most, on the Gun Dealers Code of Conduct law. It was the one that was just passed, and it was led by Amy Paulin and Brian Kavanaugh. Those are our two New York State legislators who were the key components behind that legislation. And that bill has significant impact for Rochester and for Buffalo, particularly because our guns are being supplied, the majority of them to our streets are being supplied by New York State gun dealers. So that goes back to how the gun trace report is going to help us, but the Gun Dealers Code of Conduct law that just got passed is also going to help us. So with regard to that, Councilman Lightfoot, we want to meet with whoever the state is setting up as the law enforcement authority to find out what are they going to do now to enforce that law. And that's our big next push, is to find out the specifics about what law enforcement is going to be doing. Is it going to be the New York State Police? My understanding is that's who it's going to be. So we need to begin to start adding that to our information network in terms of learning what actions are going to be taken now by New York State Police to begin to hold the inspections that the law calls for, the record keeping that the law calls for, the security measures that the law calls for, and the training standards that the law calls for. So these are two critical components for advocacy that were just enacted that are really important. And then the third piece to this will be in following up with our local police to find out how are we doing with the extreme risk protection order mandate that we have as a tool to keep guns out of dangerous hands. And I would just redirect you to think about Buffalo. The shooter in Buffalo was someone who threatened his high school, I guess less than a year ago, but he took his violence into Buffalo. Why did he go there? He went there because he was specifically looking for communities of color where he felt he could kill the most people of color that he could find. So it's really important that we're paying attention to what's happening in school districts. Particularly, this is a youth from, it seems, a white suburban district who took his hatred, his white supremacy, into Buffalo. So we're a community, we're a city, we're a state. Our lives are affected by each other. And when these acts of violence are taking place or threats of violence are taking place, we need to understand what is our law enforcement going to be doing to ensure that they are using all the tools they can, that they have available to ensure that all our communities are being safe and protected. And in the case of this young man that came into Buffalo and shot and killed all those people, the extreme risk protection order law was not followed. At least that is my understanding. And the reason it wasn't followed is because, in the opinion of people on the scene, they felt he wasn't a threat. And clearly, we know that that's not the case. He was a threat, a very serious threat. And so those are our tools. We have to use them. So that will be another thing we need to follow up on.
Okay, Kathy, so just as a follow-up, what we'll do, of course, we gave the update on the meetings that are coming forward with the mayor and others about moving forward with our particular gun data trace report. And the police we'll try to find a connection to the New York State Police and invite them to our next meeting and ask them to deal with those two things of training and enforcement to give us an update on that and to tell us about that gun dealers code of conduct, which I know we signed a letter, we advocated for as a Rock Against Gun Violence Coalition. I think it was a couple of years ago. You've been a staunch advocate, Brady's been a staunch advocate of that. So we can't thank you enough, Kathy, for the wealth of information, research, knowledge, advocacy that you bring to the table, and your connection also with Brady, that, because they do this work all over the country. And I'm gonna tell you, just for someone who sits on the Public Safety Committee for the National League of Cities, we're all trying to tap into the same information because this violence is happening all across the country. And I'm talking to elected officials from all over, and we're all grappling with the same problem in our communities. So I just want to say thank you for that. And we'll get back and we'll follow up with that. Andre, reach out to the New York State folks and our New York State delegates as well and see if we can get them at our next meeting. Thank you.
It took 10 years to get that law passed, 10 years.
And you say it may not come when it wanted, but it's always on time. So we thank you for it. And it just encourages us not to give up either. That this work is not for the faint. We have to be ready to endure all of our challenges and and be willing in it for the long haul. Captain Muir, just first before y'all start, Captain, I've said this to you personally, and I'm saying it on the air and in front of everybody. I saw you on television talking to some young men, and the young men you told them how, you know, the police are supposed to be there to help everybody. And you said that you acknowledge that there are bad apples and there can be bad apples. And when they're bad apples, they need to be weeded out and taken off the force. But at the end of the day, that you guys are supposed to be there for everybody, regardless of your race, your color, your creed, your financial background, whatever. And I just wanted to commend you for that, to be able to say that live on air on television. I thought was powerful and went a long way. And I just want to say, sir, we appreciate you and all of that the RPD do, the good guys do on RPD, the men and women. And we just want to acknowledge that and acknowledge the work that you've been doing. Countless, you've been at this table from day one, and you've been consistent, and you've always been there for our community. And I just wanted to thank you. But floor is yours, sir.
Well, Councilman, I appreciate that, but it was really not necessary. You can hear me, correct?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, so it's really not necessary to thank me. Anybody who takes the oath of a police officer does not want their image tarnished by one bad apple, you know, and police officers are human just like everybody else. So every now and then there is a bad apple. And when that happens, whether it's here or in another city or another town, then the department has to do what they need to do to take care of that problem so that we don't have bad apples amongst our membership, because it's not fair to the other police officers that are doing the right thing day in and day out. And it's certainly not fair to the community that they serve. So you don't have to thank me, but I do appreciate you doing that. Having said that, I'll get right into our statistics for up to date this year for gun violence and guns in the city of Rochester. Now, as everybody knows, last year was an incredibly violent year. And I'm not trying to scare anybody, and I'm not trying to rain on anybody's parade. I'm just going to give you statistics. Last year in the city of Rochester, there were over 10,000 rounds of ammunition fired in the city. Just think about that for a second. 10,000 rounds of ammunition were fired in the city of Rochester last year. Everybody knows how many homicides we had, so I'm not going to repeat that. So far this year, we have over 350 guns taken off the streets, and we're halfway through the year. So that's putting us on pace, and we're not really even into summer yet. That's putting us on pace to be well over 700 guns off the streets this year. So even being short-staffed, the officers are going out every single day and risking their lives and doing a great job taking guns off the street. If you figure out how many days we are into the year, that's over 2 guns every day that we're taking off the streets. And that's just, to me, it's just amazing that there's that many guns out there, illegal guns out there, and there's a lot more than that. So up to date so far, and again, I've mentioned this in the past, you can go on the RPD's open data portal and look at all this information yourselves. Anybody can do that. So if anybody watching this at home, just go on the city's website, go on the RPD's open data portal, and there's all kinds of information there. So up to the last update on the open data portal, which I believe was a few days ago, might even have been a week, we had 29 homicides, unfortunately. And we've had 143 shootings. And as I mentioned, we're not even really into the summer months yet. So we have a lot of work to do, both here with this coalition and with our police department as a whole. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again, we need everybody's help. Everybody that normally sits by and just watches it on the news, if you're tired of all the gun violence and the gunplay in the city, we need everyone's help, because this is not a community problem. This is not a Rochester Police Department problem. This is everybody's problem. We need to work together to take care of it.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for the captain? Okay.
Well, just one.
Yes.
Captain, this is Dr. K. I just wanted to ask Do you have an update on how many rounds have been fired so far this year?
I do not at this point. We get that information through our Shot Spotter program, and that's an outside vendor. I can find out where we're at for the next meeting, or I can even email it to folks if they'd like to have it, but I don't have that information on hand.
Okay, yeah, that would be great if you can, when you're able to get it, if you can send it forward. It's good talking points for when I'm working with community groups and different things to kind of put things in perspective for them.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'd be happy to assist or attend any of your meetings that I'm not tied up on something else. So if you'd like, you can reach out, and I'm happy to come by.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Anybody have any other questions for Captain Muir? Thank you, sir. Appreciate your for your update, and we'd like to get that information not only email, but we'll also share it again in your update next month.
Thank you.
Thank you. Neighborhood safety.
Office of Neighborhood Safety?
Yes, sir.
Oh, I think that would be that. No. Hi, everybody. Dr. K once again. A little update. Some things that are happening in real time is we're getting ready to go through second interviews for our neighborhood change agents as well as our field coordinator for the 10th Ward pilot of the Peacemakers Fellowship. We are hoping to be able to expand that later on in the year or early next year as we are able to show the data on how many people was engaged, how many conflicts were mediated, and how many settled their conflicts without the use of a gun. So that's going to be real important for us to be able to provide that information. At the same time, we're working on with City Council to approve the ability for us to work with the National Institute of Criminal Justice Reform, who have been getting and collecting data for our advanced peace cities, which we are one now, across the country, about the cost of each shooting and the cost of each homicide compared to what the cost is to work with an individual that is caught in this web per 18 months. It's like 30,000 per 18 months. The numbers estimated at this point, these are not the actual numbers because the study hasn't been done yet, but it's a little over 400 grand per shooting and a little over 700 to 800 grand per homicide. So that's a big difference right in itself. And so investing in that will be a priority for us. Next, you'll start seeing, I'm just going to hold it up. Some of you may not be able to see it right now. Some of you already know about it. We have posters going up all across the city. And if you want to help us out, hey, more feet on the ground, that's really helpful. These posters are to help engage those that we don't often see, the same population who we are looking forward to working with, live in the shadows. You know what I mean? And hoping that if one of them see the sign in the local store, the local liquor store, or any of those things, they can tear off a tab and slide it in their pocket. Because the majority of the time, when someone wants to get out of that life or get out of that life, let me just leave it like that, and find a way out, they can't let their homeboys or homegirls know.
Right.
So this way they can just tear it off, and slide it in their pocket and maybe call us a day or two later. I will tell you that we asked them 4 questions on this poster. One is, are you or have you thought about handling conflicts by using gun violence? The next one is, have you been a victim of gun violence? We know from research that they are usually one and the same. If you've been a victim, there's cynical retaliation where you become a perpetrator and vice versa. Are you looking for a way out is our next question. And the final question is, tired of the life and not knowing where to turn? Then it says the Peacemaker Fellowship can help. And it has the call and the email. But we also put on there our disclaimer. The Office of Neighborhood Safety and Peacemaker Fellowship is non-law enforcement and does not report to probation or parole beyond an individual's involvement in the program. And we're fortunate enough been able to work with our relationships with those entities that we're not here to report on everything that a young man or young woman does, whether they're 15 minutes late for curfew, whatever. We're here for them to put the guns down, period.
Amen.
So, you know, if any of you need some posters, things, you feel free to contact me. I've been dropping them off at different neighborhood associations and whatnot. And we want, you know, everybody to be helpful in this area, especially now that until we finish hiring, it's just me. So we want to get these out fast, and who knows, maybe have a contingent of individuals who are willing and ready to be part of Peacemakers Fellowship before our people are even hired.
Dr. K, is hiring still ongoing now? Can somebody apply for these jobs?
No, it's been closed, but you know, sometimes because of the nature of the work, we are given a heads up by someone as reputable as you that this guy is the guy.
Okay.
Because we want those guys that are known in the street, have formerly lived that life, just like many of us, right? And yeah, but they not only have the ability to say go, they have the ability to say stop. Those are the guys we're looking for, who have that kind of influence in their community, where we get them trained up as they need to be trained on the different models and entities and different ways of intervening in CBT and all of that, and being able to give them something to be proud of and doing in their neighborhood.
Well, we're gonna thank you, Dr. K. And before I ask if anybody has any questions for Dr. K, I'm gonna have Shawnee put this up on our Facebook. So take a picture of it, put it up on our Facebook page along with this video. But just so the folks know, you can call the Peacemaker Fellowship at 585-428-7544 or email at ons@cityofrochester.gov. So if you're looking to get some of these posters, or if you answer yes to one of these questions and you want to connect with the Peacemakers Fellowship, that information is provided. We just provided it, and we'll make sure that we post this information on our Facebook page, and I'll put some up in my barbershop as well too. Does anybody have any questions for Dr. K? It's also it's in both Spanish and English. So you know, if you turn it for our Latino speaking folks, Latinx folks, it is also in Spanish. Anybody have any questions for the Office of Neighborhood Safety or Dr. K? All right, we're gonna move to our update from our crisis coordinator, Aaliyah. Are you still with us?
Hi, I am here. I'm sorry I'm not on camera.
It's okay.
All right, so my report is that we are continuing our work with the Person in Crisis PIC team and the Homicide Response team, as well as the Community Support team. And I know that Captain Muir gave us those statistics around the homicides. I actually have it at 30, and then I look back at last year, and it seems that we're about 5 or 6 ahead of last year. And so there's definitely a lot of pain in our community right now when we're on those homicide scenes. So it's very unfortunate what's happening, and we are just working and praying and hoping that things will get better and not get worse. But we are continuing the work tirelessly. Just continue to, support us as you can. The team is going out to the homicide scenes and continuing to work with the families in the community, making sure that people have support on those scenes, but also making sure that people are connected to the state resources and that we're able to get people the funding to pay for any service arrangements that are needed, because we know that those scenes and what happens is unexpected and people are not often prepared for it. So we are grateful to be able to provide that support. And we are going to be expanding the PIC team. And so we're looking forward to be able to provide more consistent support to the community. with our team. We're still continuing to go out on between 75 and 150 responses on a weekly basis. So those services are in place, and we're just moving forward and doing our best to remain steadfast in the word.
Well, once again, Aaliyah, we appreciate all the work that you guys are doing. We also want to stop and pause and acknowledge not only the work that you're doing, but the work that those that are working under you are doing. Because I guess we're asking from council's perspective. If you have what resources do you? How are the employees or those working under you? Are they getting trauma care as well too? Because I mean, they're witnessing a lot of stuff. They're seeing a lot. What are we doing for our employees or for our folks that are being exposed to all of this trauma?
Well, what we're doing first and foremost is that we are remaining a support internally for each other. We have built crisis services and the teams under crisis services so that we take care of each other. And so we remain as a listening support when people need time away, when people need time off. We don't question that. We support it. We encourage it. We try to make sure that, people get even those things that seem to be small, like food, opportunity for conversation, flexibility. Those things are important. We also make sure that we provide the team with opportunities to engage with resources outside of DRHS. So we make sure we stay on top of any opportunities that are presented on a local level as well as on a national level around how to engage in self-care, how to deal with the traumas and crises that are occurring in our community. And so we're very mindful and intentional about that kind of support for our teams.
If you don't have this right now, Aaliyah, it's okay. But can you give, just for a sense of our viewers, can you give a sense of, do you track by month or up to this point, how many crises that you have responded to?
The homicide response team?
Any one of them, because it seems like there's three, right? There's the PIC, the homicide response team, and the community support team. Either with whichever data you have. Do you have any that you can share with some of our public, our viewers?
Yeah, so I do not have the PIC data, but that is available on the City of Rochester's website. If you search crisis services, you can look at the PIC team's data and see how many calls that they've gone out on each month this year so far in 2022. The community support team, I don't have exact numbers on that team, but we field walk-ins, we take calls by phone, and we also, each of our 6 team members have a caseload of at least 20. We also receive all domestic incident reports from the police department directly. So any domestic violence calls that they go out on, those reports come over to us and we provide outreach and support to those folks directly. And the homicide response team, between last year we responded to about 65 of the 81 homicide scenes. And this year, out of the 29 or 30 cases, we've probably been on about 25. And so it is very important to us that we are providing direct services whenever possible.
Thank you, appreciate it. And just so folks know, and that's one of the reasons we have this, because it's a lot of information that people don't know. Oftentimes, they only see one side of the story, which is the homicides, the shootings, and then, they see some of us in the street and go, what are you guys doing? You're not doing enough. You need to be doing more. They don't understand that we're doing stuff around the clock. Services are being provided to people around the clock. And that doesn't oftentimes get the attention that, of course, the shooting or the homicide gets. But we're not just got our heads in the sand and not paying attention. There's many sleepless nights, I'm sure, Dr. K, Vic, all of us have,
Not necessarily a question. This is Dr. K again, for those who may not be able to see me over here. Aaliyah, you know, as part of my healing process, you know, and listening to the data you just gave, first I say thank you. Right. And, you know, I just kind of went through some feelings because I know that my son was one of those responses that were made last year. And so I just say, thank you for what you do. And thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Kia. And, you know, I'm here for you. I appreciate that.
I do.
All right, so thank you, Aaliyah, again. And at this time, we're going to turn it over to Victor Saunders, advisor on violence prevention programs, to Mayor Malik Evans.
As Willie stated, normally we hear about the headline, the aftermath of the different violence that occurs within the community. And as the mayor's advisor on violence prevention programs, my job is to not only work with the internal violence prevention programs that we have in place with Officer Neighborhood Safety and Pathways to Peace, and put together the pieces that we need to be able to be successful in the community, but also to work within the grassroots organizations within the city that are currently doing this work and have been for some time, and a lot of them on a shoestring budget. Hence the Rochester Peace Collective. We are currently putting together an RFP for organizations within the city that are working with young people, working with their families in a way that would deter individuals from being a victim or an assailant in a violent crime. We're hoping by making more resources available to those entities, we can assist them in building capacity to be able to work with more individuals within the community and also work more cohesively with other entities that are doing what they're doing. One of the big components of the funding that we receive, which is $5 million as a start, is that you have to be willing to collaborate with other entities within the city. So the part that I like is being able to go to meetings currently and basically let everybody know this is an opportunity for all of us to finally get beyond Rochester being resource rich, but really smashing the silos that others have worked within for years. We today, it's historic for us as a city to have finally, it's always been a thing of mine about the disproportionate minority incarceration and the fact that a lot of individuals that come back home not prepared to be home end up getting back into trouble and doing different crimes within the community. Well, today we hired our first ever reentry coordinator, Stephen Bryant, who will be working as our pre-release and post-reentry specialist that will really assist us in preparing individuals to come home and giving resources and training and options that could allay them from feeling the need to have to pick up a firearm in order to do what they need to do to make themselves feel whole financially or otherwise. So we're ecstatic over that. We're going to continue to do what we're doing, which is putting things in place that can assist individuals that would have the highest likelihood of being a victim or an assailant from being in that situation. We are just completing our summer of opportunity paperwork, and they're getting ready to do the interviews for summer opportunity for our young participants. But beyond that, we're offering 8 to 9 different summer enrichment programs that are stipend based for those young people that might have missed the deadline, or we just know young people need to be busy this summer. So with that, we have several different community organizations who will be working with our young people in a lot of different areas. From we're offering horseback riding and working on the farm. We're going to be doing, we have another entity that's going to be doing clothing design, sneaker design, how to build a web page, a lot of social emotional learning as well. We have the Young CEO program specific to young ladies who want to be business owners. We're going to be doing a lot of different opportunities for young people to keep them busy, offering opportunities for them to experience things they otherwise wouldn't have, to give them an idea on what type of work they would like to do within their future. And within that, we're going to be offering a lot of different information as it relates to college-bound students and the opportunity for them to be able to visit schools and get information and do virtual tours and things of that nature. And another thing we're very happy about is through My Brother's Keeper, we'll be having 50 young people trained in de-escalation and conflict resolution training. And they'll be coming back to the community and being able to share those same de-escalating techniques with their peers, hopefully in a way to stop some of the fights that escalate into gunfire in our streets. So those are just some of the things that we're currently doing. And today, as we meet for Rock Against Gun Violence Coalition, is our first 6 months since starting. So we're very excited about the trajectory that we're going in. Of course, we understand that as we lose young people in the community, people want to, get a handle on the violence and the guns in the neighborhoods, as we do as well. But with that, we understand the work that has to take place foundationally to prepare some of our young kids that haven't gotten to that age and offer support for the individuals that are at that age that are still in a way that, whether it's by choice or by circumstance, puts them in the crosshairs of guns. So we're going to continue doing what we do the same way that Brother Willie spoke about putting out more information as it relates to Rock Against Gun Violence. We're really going to start our media blitz as it has to do with the violence itself and what we're going to do as a community to be able to eradicate that. So that's where we are currently. Aaliyah has been very modest, and I say that in a way of all the work that's being done on the victims end after all this different stuff has taken place. We have had to relocate and assist families in different ways other than we've never had to before. And so with the funding that comes through, we are able to assist other entities within the city like Rise Up and Rock the Peace, who are now, I also say Rock the Peace is going to be working specifically also with not only the adults, but children who are dealing with issues of trauma behind gun violence. So it's a lot going on right now. It's a lot going on. So we're thankful to be a part of it.
That's awesome work, and Vic, we of course we're praying for everybody, but man, we're specifically praying for you in this endeavor. This is a big endeavor to take on, man. It's a lot of pressure. Rome, just from the community, Rome wasn't built in a day, and this violence didn't start overnight.
Right.
And we're not expecting somebody to come in here, wave a magic wand, all of a sudden the violence goes away. Let's be realistic. Let's just be real, folks. It's going to take, as Captain Murrah said, as we hear the mayor say all the time, and you hear me say it really is a collective. It's not one program or one tool. Well, you know, it's all of them.
Everybody.
You need
Everybody.
all of those tools.
That's right.
You need all of those programs. You need the house, the family. It starts in the home.
That's
You know, you need the parents doing their part, and the school doing their part. So, you know, we really have to be intentional about that.
Definitely.
And does anyone have any questions for Mr. Saunders? Kathy.
Mr. Saunders, your plans, your goals sound amazing, really amazing. I'm wondering, as you're going along and you're noticing perhaps ways that the resources can be connected to become better supportive of your initiatives, could you let us know what we can do to be a better support for you? I'm interested in what kind of resources are being made available for you for that reentry program.
Well, specifically for the reentry program, that comes right out of our budget. We were lucky enough that when we started with this, the new mayor's, what's the word?
Initiative?
No, when the new mayor took over his transition, we were able to find some dollars to be able to assist us in putting together what our reentry piece is going to look like. And really, it's going to rely very heavily on the partners that we have around the tables as it relates to reentry. He is just the city's coordinator of all the different services that we would like to offer to individuals. But we have at least 14 partners around the table currently that are assisting us in this endeavor. So we're not having to do anything all on our own.
Good.
I am enlisting the help of every individual that does particular work within the city. And whatever your service is, if I know others that are doing that as well, I'm connecting the dots. That's always been a big part of how I do intervention. We had a 5-member team for 15 years. And the biggest component of what I did was collaborate with other individuals.
Yeah.
So what we're doing is we're collaborating with individuals that are already doing the work. We don't have to reinvent the wheels. We have great people in Rochester that have been doing this work. From the Reentry Task Force I sat on, that's now Ronnie. Now I just met with the Judicial Process Commission, with Law New York, the Public Defender's Office. We have numerous partners, and everybody is standing up. They're coming to the tables. We're understanding that the most important thing is the safety of our community. Therefore, I haven't run into any issues of ego or any of that things. People are coming to the table. They're sitting down and saying, where do I fit in? What can we do to make this better? And by that, that's why I don't feel the pressure that some might, because I really respect the work of the professionals that we have doing it. My team, as it fills out, I have very talented individuals on my team. Dr. K and I have a long history of working together, and I trust him. Anthony Hall, my outreach director, I trust these guys, and the community trusts them, which makes it better. They're trusted, they're respected, and we are, as collaborative partners, it's easy for us to ask others to join with us in the work that we're doing, which makes the job a lot easier to be able to do. So we're very, very thankful of our community. They've stood up and really made themselves available to us to be able to do whatever our needs are. And so with that, I'm extremely happy. You know, and same thing, Willie, he opened his arms to me day one, said, whatever we need, let's make it happen. So I'm very happy about that.
We're gonna shift. I'm sorry. I'm just for the sake of time. I know I'm a stickler with our time. It's okay. We're going a few minutes over, but it's all right. This is important information. Shawnee, I believe you had.
I just have a question. So if other organizations want to reach out to you, how would they get hold of you?
They can reach out to me through my email at victor.saunders, SAUNDERS, @cityofrochester.gov.
Okay.
And we will soon be putting out the RFP, the request for proposal for organizations and entities that can go to the Rochester Peace Collective and fill out the survey. And we will see where you fall in the way of your profession, whatever your specialty is. And when we have the RFP completed, we'll be sending out further information for individuals to send in proposals and see where if we could possibly fund some of the great work that's being done within the city.
So there's opportunity there. A lot of our work and a lot of what we've done has been through social media. And so Shani has been working on that along with Councilmember Harris. And I just kind of want to give her an opportunity to just tell you about some of the ways you can connect with Rock Against Gun Violence Coalition.
So Rock Against Gun Violence Coalition is on Facebook. We are located on Twitter. We are also on Instagram. I'm getting ready to see if we can create a LinkedIn page. And there's another page that I use for my organization called Alignable. Alignable is great because all your small businesses of Rochester is located on Alignable. So when my organization wanted to do small events and we need some t-shirts made and we may not know nobody, we find somebody on Alignable. There's also, I went to RIT. RIT taught me some things about Canvas and a few things that helps you put your story together. It's almost like a little commercial, but you kind of do it yourself and it's cheap. Don't cost much. And I think I tested it out with my organization and my son's story, and it was like awesome. It's like a real commercial. So there's some things I want to try out to see if we can get it across social media page. Anything I post on Rock Against Gun Violence Coalition goes on all my pages as well. The more media play you get, the more responses you get. We got a response of the day. I called Andre because I kind of didn't know how to respond to the guy. But the guy used to live here and he moved to Ohio and he responded to our social media. It reached all the way to Ohio. So you'll be surprised how far it reaches. And I know we want to address our own backyard first, but sometimes you got to reach out and collaborate with other cities because gun violence just don't end right here in Rochester. It's everywhere. So it's amazing the people that respond and how far we can reach.
Well, thank you, Shani, for the work that you're doing in maintaining all of those sites. I'm very novice in a lot of that stuff, but I appreciate you and what Councilman Harris do. And I will say, I totally agree. Like I said, I sit on the Public Safety Advocates Committee for NLC. They many times, and I'm co-chairing that committee, and some of my colleagues across the country speak about our Facebook page and they speak about our social media. They are watching the work that we do and they're following some of the stuff, our media stuff that we've done in the past. And so you're right, it does expand outside of Rochester. And I hope and consider that and look for an optimistic and that Rochester will and has been a lot of times in the forefront of a lot of issues nationally. And I think this is something that some people see as a negative, but I see as opportunity for Rochester to become a national model across the country for how we turn this thing around and we get it together. So, that's what I'm committed to. And I want the community to know Rock Against Gun Violence Coalition is alive and well. We're back up and running full speed. We're back to our meetings monthly. You can connect with us by contacting either one of our social medias, or because our information is on our Facebook page, or by calling us directly at 585-428-6554. That's my direct line in my office. You can email myself or andre.gully@cityofrochester.gov, or Willie, that's with an IE, .lightfoot@cityofrochester.gov, and we'll get back to you. This table, the Rock Against Gun Violence Coalition table, is open to anybody with shared interest. I'll be specific about that. With shared interest, meaning you want to join this table to educate, advocate, and eradicate around gun violence and violence in our community. That is our #1 North Star for us. If that's what you want to do, and that's what you want to be a part of, this table is for you, okay? So we have partners that range from all walks of life. And so anyone is like, oh, how can I be a part? Absolutely, you can be a part of this coalition. That's what it's about: partnership, collaboration, and us moving in the same direction. trying to get information out to our community, being transparent. That's why we're live on the City Council Facebook or YouTube page, because we want to be transparent. We're not meeting in some smoky back room. We're meeting right before the community. We're being accessible, approachable, making sure you know how to contact us, and make sure that when we put this on Facebook, put your comments in the comment section and tell us some of your input, some of your ideas, some of the things that you think we can do better. We always can do better, and we're striving to do better. And most importantly, like I said, there's a lot of different events that are going on around this. I have one that I'm doing sponsored by the city that's coming up. That's why I asked about earlier about the trauma affected by it. A lot of trauma has been happening in our community. We've all been impacted. On July 23rd, save the date, I'm having a mental health, total health and wellness fair. And it's going to be around mental health, addiction services, food, clothing, shelter, and things that have been impacted around poverty and some of the traumatic impacts that we've had in connecting our community together. It's going to be on Jefferson Avenue. We're shutting off Columbia to Bartlett, that whole street. Have over 40 vendors that are going to be coming out that work in the space of mental health and addiction services and providing those types of services. And we're going to be intentional. We're surveying the community about their needs, and we're going to be providing pop-up services, even in this center and in the David Gant Center. When we see the gaps based on the survey, we're going to be providing those gap services, pop-up services in these 2 identified centers as well. There's going to be 2 fairs, another one on the east side in August. But July 23rd, save that date for that fair. And we're really going to be trying to reach out to people and provide them with counseling services and different things at that particular total health and wellness. So we're looking at the whole total person, because we realize the impact that a lot of this stuff is having on our people. So again, feel free to contact with all that. Shania we'll put as much information as we can put in the Facebook page of all individuals that are here. We thank everybody for the work that you're doing in these spaces. And we realize that there's much, much more work to do, and we're committed. We're committed to doing this work. We're all born and raised here. We ain't going nowhere, Lord willing. Right. And so we just want to encourage you to come and be a part of our team wherever you fit in. If it's Office of Neighborhood Safety, you want to volunteer and work over there. If it's working with Vic and his team and all of the different programs that he has, you can work over there. If it's the coalition, you can come and work over here. We're always looking for volunteers to help us. So we just want to say good night to you. God bless you. The next meeting that we'll be having is going to be hybrid. We're going to continue this hybrid thing. It'll be at the David Gant Art Center on July 5th. Same time, about 5:30 to 6:30. Typically our meetings are about an hour. And again, that's July 5th. We have monthly meetings, but we do work throughout the month. And if anybody has any events, I know.
So you know July 23rd is Rock the Peace.
Yeah, July 23rd is Rock is the Feast Fest as well. So there's a lot going on. You know, we go. Summer's open. We back outside. So we outside now. So it's going to be a lot of overlapping, but we're going to try to work and coordinate in the future our calendars together like we used to have before the pandemic. We were really coordinating on our events. We kind of got behind in that due to everything, but we'll get synchronized. But again, God bless everybody. Be safe and continue to keep Buffalo, Texas, others in your prayers. God bless you.
All right.
Have a good night.
Thank you. So, Willie, how many do you need, or you want to take?